So, Gen X, we probably should have known that saving and planning for our retirement wasn't going to be easy. Our generation has had plenty of hurdles to clear, and we know no one's coming to rescue us. The only person that can make me save and plan is me, myself, and I. And I know it's the same for you as well. And that's why 60% of us Gen Xers are behind and will struggle to afford our current lifestyle once we stop working. And now, as we stare down retirement age, a new survey shows exactly what we're willing to sacrifice and give up in order to make our retirement savings last. And when you hear them, you'll more than likely realize which of these you'd be willing to give up yourself. But make sure you stick through to the end, because the one that most Gen Xers are not willing to give up was the most surprising of all. So let's go. Okay, stat number one, 58% of us Gen Xers said that we'd lower our standard of living to make our savings last. Okay, it's not exactly shocking that almost 60% of us would default to this one. I mean, it's easy to say that you'll live with less someday, but it's a lot harder to actually do it. But let's be real. I mean, are we living high off the hog right now, before retirement? A lot of us, we're just trying to make ends meet. So to say that you're going to lower your standard of living more in retirement, I don't know that that's a sound strategy. And maybe we'll spend less when we retire. But who can predict what the cost of living is going to be 10 years from now, 20, 30 years from now? We have to think about inflation and housing costs, even insurance premium hikes. I mean, you can only shrink your life so far. Okay, stat number two, 54% of Gen Xers say they'll go back to work in order to make their retirement savings last. So that's over half of us saying we'd go back to work either full-time or part-time. I mean, that's classic Gen X, just keep on grinding it out generation. And for me, I'm keeping this one in my back pocket as well. Working part-time might be the only way that I'm fully confident that my savings will last me the rest of my life. But here's the problem with that strategy, because when you're in your 60s or 70s, and let's say that physically you are still able to work, show up every day, the job pool for that age group isn't exactly overflowing, and competition will be tough. And if retirement means clocking back in, then we really didn't retire, did we? Okay, stat number three, we're down to 39% of Gen Xers saying that they'll cut hobbies and travel spending to make their savings last. And honestly, I'm surprised that the number isn't higher than 39%. But maybe that's because travel and leisure just isn't a huge, big part of everyone's lives to begin with. Now, I hope that I can travel when I retire. But life doesn't always give us what we plan for, and we have to be ready for that. And if money is tight, this would probably be the first thing that I would cut. It just makes sense. If your savings are running low and everything else is already budgeted, then yeah, travel and leisure, then they need to get cut. Okay, the trade-offs are getting more serious. So on to stat number four. Okay, stat number four, only 29% of us say that we'll move somewhere cheaper to make our savings last. That could mean downsizing, moving to another state or region, or even moving abroad. But even at 29%, that number feels a little high to me. I'm just wondering how many people have actually thought this one all the way through. Because it's easy to say, I'll just move somewhere where it's more affordable. But let's just analyze how feasible this really is. Let's say you want to downsize. Now, boomers are already discovering that this is not working out the way they'd hoped. With the housing market and costs, it's not as lucrative a move anymore. Okay, maybe you want to move to a different area, a cheaper state. Okay, well, this could be away from your kids, your grandkids, everything that you've always known. at an age when you would prefer to be closer to these things. I believe too that a lot of people that are doing this, they're finding that the culture of each state can be a lot different. Of course, climate, and it's a lot to adjust to. So there's that. Okay, well, what about moving abroad? Leaving the US behind. Okay, now this is a whole other level, and it's totally doable. Plenty of people do it, but there are a lot of residency rules to these countries, some a lot more strict than others. And as adventurous as some of us Gen Xers are, that's just a move that isn't realistic for most of us. So before using any of these options as a relief valve, just make sure you're ready and prepared for the upheaval it may bring. Okay, the fifth stat is that 25% of us would delay home or auto repairs. This one makes sense because it's one of our basic default moves at any stage of life, not just when we're trying to make our retirement savings last. But here's why delaying these things when we're older is so much more precarious. For one, we don't have as much time to turn things around when things start breaking. And I know with family members, I've seen it happen. When problems start happening, especially with the house, it can start snowballing. And sooner than you realize, you're overwhelmed and your car becomes unreliable and your house becomes something you don't want to live in anymore. So while I understand during our working lives how we might delay repairs, just until things get better, or when we get that bonus or that tax refund. But in retirement, is it just a delay or is it an avoidance? So we just have to be careful with this one. Okay, stat number 6, 22% of us Gen Xers say we'll move in with family or friends to make our savings last. Now we're down to less than a quarter of us. And it's pretty easy to see why this one isn't at the top of the list. Because multi-generational living can be great, or it can absolutely be the pits. By the time you get to be our age, you already know how hard it can be to live with other people. But for a lot of us, it won't be a choice. It'll be a survival strategy, and a valid one at that. And honestly, it's not impossible if you get your mindset right about it. My mom's been living with me for over 10 years because she needs full-time care. Is it the most ideal situation for me? It's not exactly what I pictured, no. But there are upsides. And financial stability is right at the top of that list. Okay, stat number 7 is almost a tie with the previous one because there's 21% of us that say we'll skip medical care. Now, if you're retiring before age 65 in Medicare, then I totally get it. Because here in the US, you could be on the hook for some terrifying medical bills. And that's even after health insurance kicks in. But this one hits hard because at retirement age, skipping or delaying medical care, it's not just saving money, it's gambling with your health. And even if you do have Medicare, but no supplemental insurance to go with it, you could still be left with some big out-of-pocket costs, especially when it concerns prescriptions or dental care. Either way, it's sobering to think that 1 in 5 Gen Xers are ready to risk their health just to make the numbers work. Okay, stat number 8. Only 15% of us say we'll reduce family financial support in order to make our savings last. Now, this is the stat that says a lot about our generation, right? More than any of the previous 7. 85% of us would rather sacrifice everything else, health, comfort, freedom, than stop helping our families financially. It says so much about us Gen Xers. It's admirable. Honestly, it's a little heartbreaking as well. It says that we would rather work longer, live smaller, skip medical care just to keep helping, our kids, our grandkids, our aging parents. And you know what? I believe it. I've read so many comments just on my channel alone from people already making sacrifices to do this very thing. In a perfect world, we wouldn't have to make these tough choices. But in the real world, the world that we've got, a lot of us are putting our own retirement futures on the line. And regardless of what's right or wrong in each individual situation, they're all different. I just have to say that I am proud of our generation for this one. Very proud. So you tell me which one of these would be the hardest for you to give up. And especially when it comes to cutting family support, let me know how you feel about that one as well. Now here's the thing. We could start cutting any and all of these 8 things right now to save what we can. And seriously, that might be the safer move. Instead of betting on doing it later, when we're older and have fewer options. Because the truth is, these aren't future problems. They're right now problems that we just keep deferring to later. If we just do a little proactive thinking right now, when our changes and our solutions can have a bigger positive impact. And just maybe we can avoid making these sacrifices later. And even more importantly, we can avoid some of the most costly retirement traps that could cost us thousands. And you can do that by watching this video I've linked right here. Don't wait until you retire, because by then it could be too late. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you watching. I hope you have a great week, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.